Thank you. Chairman, Walden, Ranking Member Ishu, and members of the committee, thank you very much for the opportunity to testify. It is a great honor to be here today. Quickly about myself, I started reselling DSL, or started outselling DSL. In 2000, I formed Rapid DSL and Wireless. My company is a grassroots, independently owned and financed fixed wireless broadband access provider. We cover a 30-mile radius around Washington, D.C., serving businesses and residences in urban and rural communities. I've sat on advisory boards of ISPCon, and until last year, I served on the board of WISPA as Legislative Committee Chairman. Quickly, a bit about WISPs. The WISPs industry is primarily made up of small, independent companies serving both competitive markets and rural markets, many of which would otherwise have no access to broadband at all. The combined services of all WISPs nationwide cover more than 75 million households, 71% of the entire population of the United States. The speed of wireless is determined by topography. In heavily treed areas, a connection may be limited to as little as 3 megabits shared by 50 households, whereas in areas with direct line of sight between towers and customers, speeds as high as 80 megabits are possible. In short, WISPs are real and relevant competition for AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, and can reach areas others are unlikely to cover without substantial government subsidies. I'm here today to show my industry support for H.J. Res 37 and ask Congress to vote to reverse the FCC's recent open Internet rules, which are not open and are not neutral. It is my belief that the FCC has overstepped their authority to address a problem that didn't exist at the detriment of our industry and the consumers. If the rules take effect, they will destroy jobs, stifle innovation, deter investment, create uncertainty, distract WISP from building networks to all Americans, increase government spending, create liability, increase legal costs, degrade broadband performance, and increase consumers' price, and possibly put some small WISPs and ISPs out of business. These effects would be contrary to the goals of the FCC's National Broadband Plan. Rules and regulations create jobs only for lawyers. Instead, we need more jobs to expand broadband access to all Americans. Community-based jobs that lead to lifelong careers, locally owned WISPs create that. We don't need regulation band-aids. We need true competitive environments that give consumers choice, foster competition between access providers, and the consequences will be open Internet content. Net neutrality regulation is the foundation for monopolies and unnecessary if we build competitive industries. Internet providers need the support from policymakers, not regulatory roadblocks. Uncertainty and liability created by these regulations would be so great that even I, the business owner, have to reconsider whether to continue investing money in my company. The rules apply to broadband as a single uniform product, rather than recognize that two very different, distinct generation broadband products exist, broadband and advanced broadband. It's inappropriate to expect first-generation broadband networks providers to allow the operation of second-generation advanced broadband applications, such as HD streaming video, which minimum requirements may exceed the capability or acceptable use policies of the first-generation basic networks. It's inappropriate to insist that broadband access products need to support a user application which the product was not originally designed to support. I believe the term reasonable network management does not go far enough to guarantee that the rules properly match technology to the appropriate access technology. The rules give special consideration to mobile carriers, but inappropriately bundle WISPs, fixed wireless providers, to rules intended for wireline and fiber providers. By failing to recognize that WISPs are subject to the same technical constraints as mobile providers, the Commission failed to fulfill its role as an expert agency and instead succumbed to political pressure to pick and choose winners. One size does not work and does not fit all. I wish I could say the Internet was simple, but it's not. The Internet is extremely complicated, and it's different in every community that it's deployed. The Internet is an ever-changing dynamic industry with many variables. I see no way static regulation could ever keep up. The FCC rules address what could happen rather than what actually did happen. For example, ISPs have never censored legal content, but content providers have demonstrated actual anti-competitive behavior. For example, ESPN 360 Disney prevents every one of its ISP customers from accessing its content unless the provider pays it a fixed fee for every customer it has, even though most will not watch the content, and gives favorable rates to large carriers than it gives small providers. This behavior is anything but neutral, but the FCC rules fail to address the serious content neutrality issue. Certainly, if the rules are going to address prospective harms, they ought to address ones that actually already exist. An environment where content providers can be discriminatory is not a neutral network. The rules unjustly entitle consumers and content providers to free reign of someone else's private network at the access provider's expense. Because the rules literally could render an Internet provider's network inoperable, the rules may actually constitute a regulatory taking of the Internet service provider's networks in violation of the Fifth Amendment. The Commission attempts to justify the rules by claiming that they are necessary because many areas are served by only one or two providers. Not only is this assertion false in most cases, but also the rules themselves would make the problem worse by making it more difficult for competitive providers to expand their services. Are WISPs real competition for wired networks such as Comcast? The arithmetic says yes. WiMAX actually delivers more capacity to the end user than most widely deployed cable services which are based on DOCSIS 2.0. A DOCSIS 2.0 hybrid fiber cable system has 43 megabits in downstream direction, 10 megabits upstream at the equipment cabinet that serves a neighborhood. The network is usually engineered so that 500 to 2,000 subscribers are connected by coaxial cable to that cabinet, and the bandwidth divided among them. But in wireless systems using WiMAX or AirMax technology, each radio has typical capacity of 24 megabits and serves 60 or fewer users. So if all the bandwidth is in use and is divided evenly, each cable subscriber gets 86 kilobits per second, not much more than dial-up, while wireless users get up to 400 kilobits per second. It's a faster network.
Yeah, Dereggi, you've got it. Yeah, exhausted your time, but can you just wrap it up?
Yeah, let me wrap it up. I have pointed out numerous reasons why the FCC open Internet rules are inappropriate and should be nullified. However, please do not misinterpret this testimony to mean that WISPs or ISPs want to be unfair to their customers or in any way limit their ability to express themselves online. What we want is the freedom and the flexibility to compete, to innovate, and design our networks to provide the services their customers really want. The FCC regulations should take effect will not only fail to do what the Commission claims, they will instead do great harm, preventing us from competing to provide the best services to our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all of you who testified today. We'll go into our questions now, and obviously we're on time constraints here. We each get about 5 minutes, so don't take offense if we ask these in sort of a yes and no environment. Mr. Dingell probably pioneered that on the committee, quite successful.